All right, guys, what's going on today? I'm here with Craig Shumway, an awesome realtor here in Gilbert, Arizona. And today, Craig, you're going to give us 5 tips or 5 mistakes to avoid when purchasing a home. Is that
That's
right?
right. I'm really good at mistakes, so I got this one covered, guys.
Pay attention. Craig is the man. I know people who have used him before and they've had an awesome experience, so you want to pay attention to what he's going to say. So let's jump right into it.
Let's do it.
Mistake number 1, what should we avoid?
So here's the thing. This one might sound a little self-serving. Basically, it's buying a home without me. No, I'm just kidding. Mistake number 1 is going it alone. And here's why this is a mistake. You might think, hey, there's a brand new build. I'm just gonna go to the builder's little sales warehouse. I'm gonna look at their options. I'm just gonna do it by myself. It's fine. Or hey, I'm just gonna call the listing agent. You know what? We'll cut the other agent out. I won't be represented. I'm gonna do this alone. Well, here's the thing. It doesn't change the price for you. All the commission is already baked into the price. You won't get a cheaper deal on the new build. You won't get a cheaper deal on the home represented by the agent. That agent's just thinking, oh sweet, now I get to represent both sides. I get 6% instead of 3%. And guess what you end up with? No representation. And without any representation, you have nobody on your side. You got nobody fighting to get you the best deal on the home, because the listing agent's job and the legal responsibility of the sales agent in the new build is to represent the seller. So that's the first mistake you can make, is going at it alone.
So you may think you're saving money, but you're actually causing a bigger headache, and you're probably gonna end up paying more money.
Exactly.
As well. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, it's good to know.
Exactly right.
Okay.
All right, number 2, which is very similar to that, is not understanding the market. Okay, and what I mean by that is when you go into negotiations, if you're, for example, in a seller's market and you're thinking, oh, well, these guys have priced their home high. You're gonna go in and think, I'm gonna give them a low ball. And then all of a sudden you find out that they have 14 other offers. And you're like, well, let's just see if they'll take it. Guess what? When they have 14 other offers on the table and you've lowballed them, they're not even looking at your offer. So that's mistake number 2, is just not understanding the market you're in. And to understand it, really, you need somebody that's in this day in and day out, because how often do you buy a house?
Haven't for the past 7 years.
Yeah, so you know, once every 7 to 10 years you go to buy a house. That doesn't make you an expert in the market. The market 7 years ago is not the same as it is today. The market 3 months ago may not be the same as what today's market is.
It's a good point. I've been telling people for the past 3 years, hey, don't buy a house, the market's about to crash. I'm not a realtor, I'm stupid. If you want to buy a house 3 years ago, you'd have a lot of equity.
You'd have a ton of equity.
So.
In fact, I had a neighbor that liked that philosophy, right? He's like, dude, I'm selling the house at the top of the market. And they sold the house, they made good money at the time. A year later, that house was worth 75 grand more.
Wow.
And guess what? They still hadn't bought a new one. They were renting in the meantime, waiting for the market to crash, but then they decided, hey, I gotta get into a home.
Wow, yeah. Should have listened to the realtor, right? Should have listened to you. All right, so that's mistake number 2. What is mistake number 3?
All right, mistake number 3 comes on the side of negotiation. So this is treating the other side as the enemy.
Okay.
In any good negotiation, if you go in thinking, hey, these people are here to screw me over, so I'm gonna screw them over, it makes things 10 times more difficult than it needs to be. Look, everybody already knows. A buyer wants to pay the least amount of money possible for a home.
Yep.
A seller wants to make the most amount of money possible for their home. That's already given, okay? So when you go in saying, hey, I'm gonna screw these guys over, you end up usually screwing yourself over.
Makes sense.
I've had deals almost fall apart over a $60 doorknob.
Wow.
Right? Where the client was just so fed up and they're like, no, we're gonna win this. We're not paying for this doorknob. And the seller was like, that was the doorknob on the home when we walked in, like we should have that. Look, it was an easy solution. I went and bought a new doorknob. But when you get to that point, it's usually just an emotional response.
Yeah.
And that's why it can end up making things more difficult than they need to be.
Makes sense. That's kind of a general rule in life. Be nice to people. They'll be
Exactly.
nice to you, right?
Be nice and they'll be nice back. Exactly.
Awesome. All right, so let's go into, was it tip number 4?
Number 4, I think.
Okay.
I think we're on 4. I mean,
I can't count.
let's pretend like there's only 5 mistakes people make when buying a home, right?
Probably a lot more than that.
So number 4 would be not being emotionally prepared.
Okay.
There was a survey done by Homes.com back in 2018 that said about 30% of people going through the home buying process shed tears.
Wow. Okay.
So don't be surprised if you cry at some point during this process. It is one of the most stressful moments in a person's life, because not only are you spending a lot of money,
Right.
but you're looking at, where is my family gonna be?
Yeah.
And the other thing is, homes aren't perfect, right? Even if you get a brand new home, there are projects and things that have to be done. Like when you buy a car, do you have to do regular maintenance?
Of course.
Absolutely. Well, the same thing with a home, except for now you have a lot of items that need regular maintenance.
Right.
You have your appliances, your AC units, you got to maintain on the painting, you got to maintain the landscaping. There's a lot to do when you own a home, a lot of responsibility.
Yep.
And so no home will be perfect when you move in, and there's a lot of stress going on with just moving your entire life.
Makes sense.
And so be prepared emotionally, because it'll make for a better experience. Don't get wrapped up into a home that you don't have under contract yet. Don't get super excited or depressed or worried about the inspection report. Like, you can work through all these things, but it takes time and it takes patience and it takes an emotional maturity to go through it level-headed.
And that probably goes back to mistake number 1 of not using a realtor. If you have a good realtor, he can help you navigate those emotional waters and calm you down and let you know it's going to be okay.
That's exactly right. I mean, I see this every day, right? I buy and sell homes every day. And as a result, I don't get as emotionally involved as you will when you do it once every 10 years.
Yep, absolutely. That's a good point.
So, yeah.
All right, so that's 4 mistakes. Let's move on to the 5th and final mistake that people make. Tell us what it is.
Okay, this one's probably one of the most important ones, okay?
Okay.
Number 5, saving the best for last, is you're going into looking at a home without being financially prepared.
Okay.
And here's what I mean by this. There are obviously people look at, okay, what's the interest rate on my loan? How much am I gonna be paying a month? What is my down payment gonna be?
Yep.
Most people understand those costs, right?
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, I can get into a home 3% down. That means if I'm buying a $200,000 home, I just need $6,000. Oh, dude, I got $6,000 in the bank. Let's go. But what you're forgetting is all of the other expenses that go into buying a home, right? You have your closing costs, which adds another 2 to 3%.
Okay.
You have, your moving costs.
Yeah.
Do you need to hire movers? Do you need to buy new furniture? Do you need to do whatever you got to do to prepare your family? How many times are you going to go out and buy pizza?
Right? Yes. Probably not for the first few weeks. Right?
Exactly. So there's all of these other costs that go in. Do you have money set aside for inspection? Do you have, money set aside to get your homeowner's insurance? Do you have all of those things in place? So typically what I tell people is, on the minimum, you need to have at least 5% saved up of the purchase price of the home.
Okay.
But that's the minimum.
Okay.
If you want to be safe and feel financially a little bit better, you need to be looking more towards that 20 to 25%.
Okay.
Now, that's not going to be possible for everybody, and it's not always the right thing to do. But you need to be prepared with the costs and understand what's going on. And then the most important thing is, before you even go looking at a home, get a pre-qualification from a good lender.
Okay.
That lender will help you look through your finances. They're going to look at your credit score, your debt to income ratio. They're going to help you determine the monthly payment, so that way you're prepared. So by the time you're out looking at a home, you know if you can make it work or not.
Awesome. Makes sense. And this is something that you help all of your clients with from the beginning.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. When we first sit down, we go over what I call the baby steps of home buying.
Okay.
And we go through over the whole process from getting that pre-qualification letter all the way down through the inspections to closing to throwing a party and inviting me.
Awesome. With the pizza party, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
There you
I
go.
don't buy pizza anymore. I'm just kidding.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, thank you, Craig. Now you guys know those are the 5 mistakes to try to avoid when purchasing a new home. But really, if we just go back to mistake number 1 of not hiring representation, a lot of those issues will be taken care of. So don't try to do it alone. Find a realtor. Find an awesome realtor. If you're here in Arizona, find Craig. He'll help
Give
you
me a
out.
call.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you in the next video.